On May 19th, 2018, the world came to a standstill to witness what felt like a real-life fairy tale unfolding as a Hollywood actress walked down the aisle to become part of the most famous family on Earth. More than 1.9 billion people tuned in to watch the spectacle of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry exchanging vows inside St. George's Chapel. It was the height of Sussex mania, a moment when it genuinely felt like they had become the center of the cultural universe. But jump ahead to May 2026, and the picture surrounding their 8th wedding anniversary looked completely different. Rather than worldwide celebration, there was a deafening silence from the very A-list circle they had spent years trying so hard to build. No post from Oprah, no public messages from the Clooneys, and even Serena Williams, often described as a close friend, remained oddly silent across social media. It almost felt as though the celebrity world had collectively pressed the mute button on the Montecito duo, leaving them stranded on what critics are now calling a very small and very lonely island. To fill the silence left behind by their clear-throat former celebrity friends, Meghan appeared to take matters into her own hands by launching what many have described as a desperate PR blitz. She released a huge collection of 24 never-before-seen wedding photos, a move that came across less like a heartfelt anniversary tribute and more like a carefully timed distraction strategy. But as people started zooming in and paying closer attention, they discovered something far more revealing than a nostalgic trip down memory lane. One image in particular stood out, and not for the reasons anyone expected. The photo captured a moment of obvious tension, reigniting rumors about what may have truly happened behind palace walls during those final days in the UK. In the image, Prince Harry appears visibly irritated, seemingly caught in a heated exchange with Maria Barallo, the longtime nanny to Prince William and Catherine's children. The body language frozen in that single frame sent shockwaves through royal circles. While Harry appears to be in the middle of a confrontation, young Prince George and Princess Charlotte can be seen nearby looking uncomfortable and visibly uneasy. Royal insiders have long claimed that Catherine felt a need to protect her children throughout the wedding events, especially after reports surfaced alleging that Meghan's behavior toward young Charlotte had reduced the Princess of Wales to tears. This newly surfaced image seems to support that narrative, revealing a level of tension that was anything but romantic. It really makes you wonder why Meghan would choose to share such an awkward moment publicly. Unless she was focused solely on how flattering she looked in the frame while completely missing her husband's awkward behavior unfolding in the background. But the controversy surrounding the couple didn't stop with a handful of old photos. Only days before the anniversary, Meghan was photographed in a selfie alongside a Finnish politician facing some deeply troubling allegations. Wheeler Ryman, a man currently caught up in scandals involving accusations of racism and harassment, was probably the last person the Duchess needed to be associated with while attempting to continue her image as a global humanitarian. The timing could hardly have been worse, especially as it arrived just before a major speech in Geneva regarding the preventable harms of social media. It's a pattern that feels increasingly familiar, an attempt at generating positive press immediately overshadowed by poor vetting or a simple failure in judgment. It's almost enough to make you wonder whether the massive team they once relied on has shrunk so much that nobody remains willing to tell them no. And that brings us to perhaps the strongest symbol of where Project Sussex finds itself in 2026, the kitchen. For years, the couple carefully crafted an image built around quiet luxury, filming Netflix projects and promotional content inside bright, elegant spaces drenched in sunlight. But lately, that image has started to crack. Investigative reports recently revealed that the beautiful kitchen Meghan used in her With Love Meghan series wasn't even inside her own home. It was reportedly a rented farmhouse. And the reality of the actual kitchen inside their Montecito property paints a very different picture. Visitors to the home have reportedly described it as dark and somewhat gloomy, filled with orange-brown wooden cabinets and copper cookware that appears untouched since 2003. In a neighborhood where billionaires regularly tear down homes simply to improve the view, the fact they haven't renovated their own kitchen in 6 years is now being viewed as a major indicator of their actual financial strength. This so-called Taco Bell kitchen narrative has evolved into a metaphor for the entire Sussex brand. Once seen as some of the most sought-after content creators in the world, they are now being dismissively labeled by Hollywood insiders as exactly that, a label. Their multi-million-dollar business partnership with Netflix surrounding the A's Ever lifestyle brand officially hit trouble in March 2026, after a year marked by slow growth and cautious positioning from the streaming giant. Meghan reportedly decided to move the brand independently. But according to industry gossip, a very different version of events is being told. One suggesting Netflix had grown frustrated with being used essentially as a storefront for products that simply were not selling. Without the support of a major studio behind it, the As Ever brand, which ranges from flower sprinkles to scented candles for kids, is now staring down a huge uphill climb in its effort to stay relevant. The candle collection especially has managed to raise quite a few eyebrows. Meghan's latest launch includes a line of luxury candles reportedly inspired by the happiness brought by her children, Archie and Lilibet. While some supporters see the idea as heartfelt, critics have heavily criticized it as predatory and a cynical effort to commercialize her own children. There has also been backlash surrounding a candle allegedly created in tribute to the late Queen's nickname, Lilibet. It was initially promoted as an homage before later being quietly rebranded as a founder's daughter scent, once the criticism became impossible to ignore. It's this ongoing drive to monetize nearly every element of their royal connection that has convinced many people the couple may genuinely be running out of options. Even their overseas appearances throughout 2026 haven't managed to shift the momentum. A recent trip to Australia was reportedly described as a complete disaster, with stories surfacing claiming Meghan was literally charging fans for selfies. Polling numbers in the region were said to be brutal, and traffic to their business ventures reportedly declined while they were actually there. It's a dramatic contrast when compared to the genuine moments of joy seen elsewhere within the royal family. Take Prince William, for instance, who was recently seen in Istanbul completely losing himself in the stands as his beloved club, Aston Villa, secured the Europa League title. It was pure, unfiltered human emotion, not staged for cameras and not packaged into some PR strategy. It was simply a football fan celebrating a victory alongside his mates, serving as a reminder of what relatable royalty can actually look like. And while William appears to be thriving, King Charles has been managing challenges of his own, although with a level of composure the Sussexes could probably learn from. During a recent engagement in Northern Ireland, a seagull decided to single out the monarch and left its mark squarely on the back of his suit jacket. In a moment that could easily have become a public relations headache, the king simply laughed it off, joking that he was thankful it hadn't landed on his head instead. He continued greeting members of the public for hours afterward with the stain still clearly visible, proving that maintaining dignity doesn't require a carefully curated farmhouse backdrop. But behind palace walls, the king is currently dealing with a much more serious situation. A major document release in May 2026 dragged the ghost of Prince Andrew back toward the palace gates once again. Freshly released government files revealed that the late Queen Elizabeth II had personally pushed for Andrew's appointment as a trade envoy, despite the fact he reportedly underwent no formal security vetting whatsoever. The papers paint an astonishing picture of unquestioned privilege, suggesting Andrew openly told officials that he preferred visiting sophisticated countries rather than handling the actual hard work involved in trade promotion. Reports claimed he favored ballet over theater and appeared to view luxury travel as something he was naturally entitled to by birth. Today, however, Andrew's reality reportedly looks very different from those glamorous overseas tours. According to reports, he now spends his nights avoiding showers while staying up until dawn playing Call of Duty and complaining to anyone willing to listen that his life is completely ruined. The scandal remains a stain that simply refuses to disappear and continues hanging over King Charles as he attempts to reshape and modernize the monarchy. But things truly exploded when rumors started circulating that the king may be quietly putting together a deal to bring Harry back into the royal fold. Some interpret it as a father desperately trying to reconnect with his son, while others suspect it's a calculated move aimed at preventing the Sussexes from sliding into complete financial collapse. and the clues seem to be stacking up, from subtle shifts in Charles's public wording to reports involving late-night conversations that apparently don't include lawyers. If some form of deal is genuinely taking shape behind closed doors, it could become the ultimate twist in the Montecito soap opera that has held the world's attention for nearly 10 years. For Meghan and Harry, the pressure has never felt greater. Their effort to present themselves as serious geopolitical voices on the global stage during Geneva appearances was almost instantly undercut by a return to influencer-style tactics just 48 hours later. One day they're speaking before technocrats at the World Health Organization, and the next, they're uploading pictures of penguin decorations and anniversary cakes. This scattershot strategy has left their brand looking increasingly directionless. Without a clear path forward, or a strong team keeping things on course, they now appear to be throwing absolutely everything at the wall in hopes that something eventually sticks. But with every disastrous mistake and each painfully awkward merchandise launch, that wall is beginning to look very crowded indeed. Public perception around the couple seems to be approaching a critical turning point. Even though they still maintain a loyal audience, the broader social decline is becoming harder and harder to ignore. And when the only visible anniversary messages seem to come from an airline crew that may have been briefed ahead of time, it might be time to start asking some uncomfortable questions. The tragedy surrounding the Sussexes is that they went from having a wedding attended by the world's most powerful A-listers to standing on a tiny island surrounded by Olive Garden cabinets and candles scented like nostalgia. For the last 8 years, they've been searching for where they fit in the world, but somewhere along the way, they may have pushed away nearly everyone who could have helped them find that place. As we look ahead at the future of the British monarchy, the difference between those who stayed and those who walked away has never felt more obvious. While Prince William prepares for the day he eventually takes the throne, backed by a nation and driven by a sincere dedication to duty, Harry and Meghan appear trapped in an endless cycle of rebranding efforts that never fully seem to land. Each week seems to bring another story, another controversy, or another unseen photo that leaves people wondering what the actual purpose behind it all really is. And if privacy was truly the goal, they now seem to be the only people left invading it. They've become the directors of their own soap opera. But as the ratings continue slipping, even their most loyal viewers are beginning to slowly tune out. The question still remains, is there a road back for them? Or have they officially arrived at the end of their journey toward global influence? That rumored deal with the king could potentially be their final lifeline. But even that option carries a serious cost, because it would require admitting that the independent path they fought so fiercely to build simply didn't work. It would mean returning to a system they've spent years publicly criticizing. And for a couple whose entire brand has centered around freedom, that might end up being the most shocking twist of all. For now, they continue navigating the blurry line between celebrity and royalty, desperately trying to maintain relevance in a world increasingly ready to move forward without them. The Montecito lives of Meghan and Harry continue serving up an endless supply of drama. But beneath the polished promos and carefully timed social media posts, there's an unmistakable sense of something deeper simmering underneath. The Taco Bell kitchen isn't merely where meals are made. It's become a symbol of a dream that never fully came together. A reminder that no matter how many high-retention scripts they attempt to create for their own lives, reality remains something they simply can't control. The social freeze-out appears real. Financial pressure continues mounting. And those increasingly awkward promotional posts are beginning to feel less like business decisions and more like cries for help. Ultimately, the 8th anniversary of what was once called the wedding of the century became a sobering reminder of how dramatically fortunes can change. From the heights of Windsor Castle to the dark corners of a Montecito mansion, Harry and Meghan's journey has been anything but predictable. And as new scandals continue surfacing, while rumors of reconciliation grow louder, we're left wondering what exactly the next chapter of this story will bring. Will they discover a way to reinvent themselves once again? Or will history remember them as the couple who had everything and traded it away for a label and a handful of luxury candles? Only time can answer that question. But if the last 8 years have taught us anything, it's that when it comes to these two, expecting the unexpected is usually the safest bet. As documents involving Prince Andrew continue finding their way into public view, and the king deals with the fallout from his brother's increasingly complicated past, the monarchy itself remains in a state of transition. And the contrast between the institution of royalty and the Sussex brand has never looked more striking. While one side remains focused on duty, tradition, and the occasional unfortunate bird incident, the other appears consumed with metrics, hooks, and maintaining an image that seems to be rapidly falling apart. It's become a battle over the future identity of the British royal family. And as of May 2026, the scoreboard doesn't appear particularly favorable for the California side. The story of Meghan and Harry increasingly feels like a cautionary tale about what happens when you try to live in two worlds at once. You simply can't be both a private citizen and a global influencer without eventually something breaking. And for the Sussexes, that thing increasingly seems to be credibility. Every new revelation and every exposed truth only deepens the sense that they're playing a game that was impossible to win from the start. As they stand on their small island watching the world continue without them, they may finally be realizing that the most shocking truth was never about the family they left behind. It's about the life they've created. The silence from A-listers on their anniversary wasn't merely coincidence. It felt like a message. A sign that the celebrity world may have already looked behind the curtain and decided the soap opera was no longer worth the ticket price. And as the Taco Bell kitchen gathers dust while the A's Ever brand struggles to find solid ground, the reality of the situation may finally be settling in. They are no longer the stars leading the show. They've become the former headliners, still searching for a role in a production that has already moved on. And it's the kind of dramatic decline that no amount of unseen photos can repair. So as we close the chapter on this 8th anniversary, we're left with a sense of secondhand embarrassment and a long list of unanswered questions. We've seen the leaked images, heard the explosive rumors, and watched the failed rebranding efforts play out in real time. What we still haven't witnessed is a genuine moment of self-reflection or any meaningful attempt to make things right. And until that changes, the Sussexes will likely continue drifting farther from the center of attention, lost in a world of their own making, while the rest of the royal family carries on thriving through the genuine happiness of their own lives. That rumored secret arrangement with King Charles could end up being their final shot at a fairy tale ending. But even that would feel like a hollow victory, because it wouldn't represent a return out of belief in the institution. It would be a return born out of necessity. A return because there simply wasn't another path left to take. And perhaps that's the most shocking reality of all. The fairy tale that began back in 2018 has transformed into a survival story by 2026. And the joy they once projected to the world has slowly been replaced by a desperate struggle to remain relevant. It's the sort of drama even Hollywood's best writers probably couldn't have scripted. And as we continue watching it unfold, you almost find yourself wondering what possibly comes next, beyond another bizarre post that leaves everyone scratching their heads. By now, the reality of Project Sussex is becoming impossible to ignore. It's a brand constructed around missteps, major errors, and a deep misunderstanding of what people actually want. They wanted a modern monarchy. Instead, they ended up with a label and a candle line. They wanted freedom. Instead, they found themselves on a small island facing a social freeze-out. As they continue navigating life in Montecito, they may finally be learning that reality is often far harder to manage than the story they've spent years trying to sell. And while the world watches on with a strange mix of fascination and secondhand embarrassment, one final thought keeps lingering. Life really does have a way of humbling people when things stop following the script. That 8th anniversary was supposed to mark a major milestone, a celebration of a love story that supposedly overcame every obstacle. Instead, it became a symbol of everything that had gone off course. From awkward exchanges with nannies to questionable kitchens and uncomfortable anniversary gestures, it turned into a lesson in how to gradually alienate a worldwide audience. The silence felt deafening. The merchandising came across as excessive. And the PR campaign ultimately failed to land. It's the kind of story that may continue following them for years, serving as a reminder of just how dramatic their social decline has felt in only 8 short years. Yet through all the confusion and chaos, the British monarchy remains standing. King Charles continues leading with humor. Prince William continues finding genuine joy in the moments that matter. And the institution itself keeps evolving and adapting. The Sussexes may have tried to flood the zone, but now the tide seems to be pulling back, revealing a mess that no amount of unseen wedding photos can fully hide. It increasingly feels like the end of an era for Harry and Meghan. And as the curtain slowly begins falling on the Montecito soap opera, perhaps the only hope left is that they eventually find the privacy they've always claimed to want, even if that means standing alone on that very small island. The rumors surrounding a secret agreement will likely continue, and the endless document releases tied to Prince Andrew will almost certainly keep causing headaches for the palace. But beneath all of it, the bigger story has always been about choices and the consequences attached to them. Harry and Meghan made their decision back in 2020, and by 2026, they're now living with what followed. It's a startling and exposed reality, one that serves as a warning for anyone convinced they can outrun their past or somehow outmaneuver the world itself. Because in the end, truth always seems to find a way to surface. Whether it arrives through a leaked photograph, a gloomy kitchen, or the uncomfortable silence of former friends. And for the Sussexes, that truth may finally be starting to land.